Now, let me ask you something for a second. Just imagine this with me. Picture a tiny pill, just a small capsule sitting in the palm of your hand. If some giant pharmaceutical company announced tomorrow that they had invented a pill that could lower your blood pressure, calm your nerves, make your thinking clearer, help your memory work better, clean out your bloodstream, and slowly repair your body from the inside. And on top of that, no dangerous side effects, not one. Well, you already know what would happen. Doctors would prescribe it everywhere, pharmacies would run out of it in hours, insurance companies would fight over it, and that little pill would probably become the most expensive drug humanity has ever created. People would pay anything for it. But here's the funny part. You don't need a prescription for it. You don't need to join some fancy gym. You don't even need to change your clothes. All you really need is a sidewalk in about 30 minutes. Walking. Yeah, just walking. Now I know that sounds almost too simple, doesn't it? For years, we've been taught that exercise has to look dramatic. People believe that if you're not breathing hard, if sweat isn't pouring down your face, if your muscles are not screaming, then somehow it doesn't count. But modern science has been quietly proving something very different, something almost embarrassing in its simplicity. The human body responds incredibly well to walking, not running, not punishing workouts, just steady walking. And today, I want to take you on a little journey, not down the street exactly, but inside your body, deep inside the biology that most people never think about. Because something very interesting begins to happen the moment you step outside and start moving your legs. Your body immediately notices the change. Within the first minute, your heart begins to wake up. If your resting heart rate was sitting somewhere around 60 or maybe 70 beats per minute, it slowly begins to climb. Not in a scary way, not like panic, more like a gentle signal. Your body saying, all right, we're moving now. Soon your heart finds a comfortable rhythm, maybe around 90 or 100 beats per minute. And right about then, something remarkable begins happening inside your blood vessels. Your arteries begin releasing a tiny chemical called nitric oxide. Now, that might sound complicated, but the effect is actually very simple.
Nitric oxide tells your blood vessels to relax. It tells them to widen, almost like opening the lanes on a highway. So suddenly, blood can travel through your body more easily. And that is exactly why, within just a few minutes of walking, your blood pressure actually starts to go down. Isn't that interesting? Most people think the heart has to work harder when you move, but in reality, walking helps the whole system work more smoothly. Your body basically says, all right, we are active now, let's open the pipes. But something even more powerful is happening at the same time, not in your muscles, in your nervous system. You see, most people today live stuck in what scientists call the fight or flight mode. Emails, deadlines, bills, noise, stress. Your nervous system spends most of the day thinking something bad might happen. That is called the sympathetic state. It is useful when a lion is chasing you, but it's terrible when it lasts all day long. Walking begins to shift you out of that state. Slowly, quietly, your nervous system moves into something called the parasympathetic state. That is the state of safety, the state of repair, the state where your body finally says, all right, we are not being chased. We are just moving through the world. We are safe. And about 10 minutes into your walk, another fascinating change begins. Your brain starts waking up in a way most people never realize. People often think the brain works best when you're sitting still at a desk, but the truth is the brain loves movement. Your brain actually evolved while humans were walking. And when your legs begin moving rhythmically, something beautiful happens. Your heart starts pumping a little more blood toward the front part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex. That part of the brain is basically the CEO of your mind. It controls focus, decision-making, planning, self-control. When blood flow increases there, your thinking becomes clearer. And at the same time, your brain releases a powerful substance scientists call BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Yeah, that name is a mouthful, but the nickname scientists give it is much easier to understand. They call it fertilizer for the brain.
BDNF helps your brain cells repair themselves. It helps them grow new connections. It strengthens the communication between neurons. And this, by the way, is the reason many people suddenly get their best ideas while walking. You are not imagining it. Your brain literally works better when you move. Your thoughts untangle themselves. Mental fog clears out. It's almost like wiping a foggy windshield. Fresh oxygen flows into the brain. Waste products get flushed away. And suddenly, things make sense again. Now, let me tell you something else happening quietly beneath the surface. Something that matters to millions of people, especially after the age of 40. Your blood sugar. Every time you eat a meal, carbohydrates break down into glucose. Sugar enters your bloodstream. To handle that sugar, your body releases insulin. Insulin's job is to push sugar out of the blood and into your cells to use as fuel. But here is where modern life causes trouble. Over time, many people's cells become less responsive to insulin. Doctors call this insulin resistance. When that happens, sugar stays in the blood longer than it should, and that can slowly lead toward type 2 diabetes. But walking changes the equation. When your muscles begin working, they activate special proteins called glucose transporters. Think of them like tiny vacuum cleaners. These transporters pull sugar directly out of your bloodstream and into your muscle cells to use as fuel. And here is the amazing part. They can do this even without extra insulin. So when you walk after eating, your muscles are literally cleaning sugar out of your blood just by moving your legs. No complicated medicine required. And that is exactly why doctors often recommend a simple walk after meals. Sometimes it can lower blood sugar more effectively than people expect.
Now, there is another secret about walking that the fitness industry doesn't talk about enough. Weight loss. Most people believe the harder the workout, the faster the fat disappears. But biology is not always that simple. Very intense workouts can actually spike a hormone called cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone, and when cortisol stays high, the body tends to hold on to fat, especially around the belly, because from a survival perspective, your body thinks you are in some kind of emergency. Walking avoids that problem. Walking keeps your body in what scientists call the aerobic zone, a calm, energy-burning state. In that state, your body prefers to burn stored fat instead of quick sugars. So instead of forcing weight off with extreme effort, walking gently persuades the body to let it go, like using the right key instead of kicking down a locked door. Sometimes the simple method is the smarter one. And if you're starting to see how all these little invisible processes begin stacking together, well, you are starting to understand why walking is so powerful. All right, before we go further, let me pause for a second here. If you're enjoying this conversation, go ahead and tap the like button. It helps the video reach more people who might actually need to hear this. And if you're new here, you can subscribe. Every week we talk about simple ways the human body can heal and work better, without hype, without crazy promises, just real biology explained in plain language. Also, I'm curious about something. What time of day do you usually walk? Morning, afternoon, evening? Tell me down in the comments. I really do read them. All right, now let me tell you what starts happening to your heart when walking becomes a regular habit. You see, the heart is just a muscle, a very hard-working one, but still a muscle. And like any muscle in the body, it responds to regular use. When walking becomes something you do every day, something quiet begins to change inside the structure of your heart. Doctors call it remodeling.
Now that word might sound a little dramatic, but the idea is simple. Your heart slowly becomes more efficient. Each beat starts pushing a little more blood through your body, which means the heart doesn't have to beat as often to do the same job. Over time, many regular walkers notice something interesting. Their resting heart rate drops. Instead of sitting at 70 or 80 beats per minute while resting, it might settle down into the low 60s, sometimes even the 50s. That is not weakness, that is efficiency. Your heart becomes stronger, calmer, more economical with its energy. But the real magic isn't just inside the heart itself. It's in the long network of arteries that carry blood everywhere in the body. Think of your arteries like flexible garden hoses. When you're young, those hoses are soft and stretchy. Blood flows through them easily. But with age, inactivity, and stress, those hoses can slowly become stiff. And stiff arteries create a dangerous situation. Blood pressure rises, the heart has to work harder, and the risk of heart attack quietly climbs. Walking helps prevent that. Every step you take sends gentle waves of blood through the arterial system. Those waves act almost like a daily stretch for the arteries. They help the vessels stay flexible. Healthy arteries bend. Unhealthy arteries crack under pressure. Large, long-term studies have shown something pretty remarkable. People who walk about 150 minutes per week, which is just 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, reduce their risk of heart attack by roughly 30%. 30%! Now, if someone told you a stock market investment could give you a guaranteed 30% return, people would line up around the block. But this investment costs nothing, just time and consistency. Now, there is another system in your body that almost nobody talks about. Most people have never even heard of it, the lymphatic system. If your bloodstream is like the highway system, the lymphatic system is more like the sewer system of the body. It collects waste, cell debris,
Bacteria, old proteins, all the little leftovers that your cells don't need anymore. And it moves that waste toward filtration centers like the lymph nodes. Eventually, the body removes it. But here's a strange thing about the lymphatic system. It doesn't have a pump. Your heart pumps blood, but nothing directly pumps lymph fluid. Movement is what moves it. Your muscles are the pump, especially the muscles in your legs. When you walk, every step squeezes your calf muscles. Those muscles push lymph fluid upward through the body. Some scientists even call the calves your second heart, because that pumping action helps move fluid that would otherwise sit there. And when lymph fluid sits still for too long, people start feeling heavy, swollen, puffy. That sluggish feeling many people notice after sitting all day, that is often stagnant circulation and slow lymph movement. Walking helps flush that system. It gets the waste moving again. Your internal cleaning crew finally gets back to work. Now let me bring up something that connects many modern illnesses together. Inflammation. You hear that word a lot these days, but chronic inflammation is a serious issue. Conditions like arthritis, Heart disease, diabetes, even depression often share the same underlying problem. The immune system gets stuck in a constant low-level state of alarm, almost like a smoke detector that never fully turns off. Walking helps calm that system. Regular walking has been shown to lower certain inflammatory chemicals in the blood called cytokines. Those chemicals are like little alarm signals for the immune system. When their levels drop, the body shifts out of constant emergency mode. Your immune system stops overreacting. It begins focusing more on maintenance, repair, and balance. Now, every once in a while, someone will say something like,
I can't walk. My joints hurt too much. And I understand that. Joint pain can be very real. But here is the surprising truth for many people. In a lot of cases, the joints hurt because they aren't moving enough. Inside your joints, there is a smooth material called cartilage. Cartilage acts like padding. It lets bones glide against each other without grinding. But cartilage has a strange limitation. It doesn't have its own blood supply, so it cannot receive nutrients the way muscles or organs do. Instead, cartilage receives nutrition through movement. Every time you take a step, the pressure inside the joint gently squeezes the cartilage. Then, when the pressure releases, fresh fluid flows back in, carrying nutrients. Walking basically feeds the cartilage. It keeps the joints lubricated. Without movement, that system slows down. The joints stiffen. Pain increases. Movement often becomes the medicine. Not extreme movement, just regular, steady walking. And bones benefit too. Your skeleton is not a static structure. Bone tissue constantly rebuilds itself. When bones experience gentle stress from activities like walking, the body responds by strengthening them. It increases bone density. That is why walking is one of the best natural defenses against osteoporosis. The bones adapt to the forces placed on them. Stronger stress signals create stronger bones. Walking sends exactly the kind of signals your skeleton expects. And that leads us to something fascinating about human biology. Your body was built for walking. For almost all of human history, people did not sit in chairs all day. They did not spend 8 hours behind a desk. Humans walked. They walked to find food. They walked to find water. They walked to explore new land. They walked to find other people. Our ancestors probably moved somewhere between 10,000 and 15,000 steps most days. Your DNA still expects that level of movement. When you stay still for long periods, your biology becomes confused. The body begins conserving energy. Systems slow down. Metabolism drops. It is almost as if your body assumes something must be wrong. Maybe you are injured. Maybe you are sick. But when you start walking again, you send a completely different message. You are telling your biology something very simple. I am active. I am capable. I am still moving forward. And the body responds accordingly. Now, here's the beautiful part about a simple 30-minute walk. The real benefits don't end when the walk ends. In fact, that is when many of the best effects begin. Because your blood sugar stabilized earlier in the day, you avoid that heavy afternoon crash. You know the one. Around 3 o'clock, when your brain suddenly feels like it is moving through mud. Walking helps smooth that out. Because your stress hormones dropped, your nervous system relaxes more easily at night. Sleep comes faster, and deep sleep lasts longer. Because your brain released more BDNF earlier, your mind often feels sharper later in the day. Creativity improves, focus improves, even mood improves. It is almost like the walk quietly upgrades the rest of your day. But let me tell you something else, something that people sometimes forget. Walking is not just about health numbers, it's also about perspective. When you step outside, breathe fresh air, feel your legs moving beneath you, something changes mentally. Problems that seemed overwhelming at your desk suddenly feel smaller. Thoughts become clearer, your mind settles down, and sometimes the best conversations you'll ever have with yourself happen while walking. I've solved a lot of life's problems that way, just walking down a quiet street.
Thinking, breathing, letting the world slow down for a while. The world today tries very hard to convince you that health is complicated. There's always some new supplement, some expensive machine, some special workout plan, some complicated diet chart with 20 different rules. And I suppose some of those things can help in certain situations. But the truth, the quiet truth, is often much simpler than that. Your body was not designed for a laboratory. It was designed for movement, for sunlight, for fresh air, for steady activity across the day. And walking fits that design perfectly. You don't have to be athletic. You don't have to be young. You don't have to be fast. You just have to move. 30 minutes, that's it. Half an hour. If you walk for 30 minutes today, you will probably notice something small. Your mind will feel lighter. Your body will feel a little looser. Maybe your mood improves. Nothing dramatic, just a quiet improvement. But something interesting happens when you keep repeating that same small action day after day, week after week. If you keep walking for 30 minutes every day for a month, people often begin noticing physical changes. Their energy improves. Their posture improves. Sometimes their clothes fit a little differently. Breathing becomes easier. Stairs feel less intimidating. But the really powerful changes show up when this becomes part of your life. 3 months, 6 months, a year. That is when the body truly begins transforming. Blood pressure settles into healthier numbers. Blood sugar becomes easier to control. Sleep deepens. Your heart grows stronger. Your brain stays sharper. Your joints move more freely.
And slowly, without much drama, you become a different version of yourself. Not because you forced your body through extreme workouts, but because you worked with your biology instead of against it. Now, I want to say something important here. Walking is not punishment. It should never feel like punishment. You are not walking because you hate your body. You are walking because you respect it, because you want it to last, because you want to be able to move comfortably 10, 20, maybe even 30 years from now. And believe me, the older you get, the more valuable simple mobility becomes. Being able to walk easily is freedom. Freedom to travel, freedom to visit friends, freedom to go outside whenever you want, freedom to live life without feeling trapped inside your own body. I've seen many people chase complicated solutions. Meanwhile, the quiet answer was sitting right outside their front door the whole time. A simple walk, nothing fancy, just step after step, breath after breath. Now I want to offer you a small challenge, nothing extreme, just something honest. Tomorrow, sometime during your day, take 30 minutes and go for a walk. Not to exercise, just to walk. Walk around your neighborhood. Walk through a park. Walk down a quiet street. Leave your phone in your pocket for a while if you can. Let your mind settle. Let your body do what it was built to do. 30 minutes, that is all I ask. And when you finish, pay attention to how you feel. Your body will probably tell you more than I ever could. Then do it again the next day and the next. You don't need perfection, you just need consistency. And if you decide to take this little 30-minute challenge with me, go ahead and write "I'm in" down in the comments. I really do enjoy seeing people commit to small habits that change their lives. And if you want to take things one step further, the next video will show you how to combine this walking habit with a simple morning routine that supports your heart, brain, and metabolism even more. Until then, stay curious, take care of your body, and most importantly, keep moving forward. I'll see you in the next one.